I never thought the truth about my wife's affair would come from a doctor. I thought if I ever discovered something like that, it would be a message on her phone, a hotel receipt, maybe lipstick on someone else's shirt. I certainly never imagined a man in a white coat would look me in the eye and say something that would destroy my marriage and hand me the evidence I needed to walk away. My name is Daniel. I'm 42, and until 3 months ago, I believed my life was stable. My wife, Emily, and I had been married for 14 years. We had a nice house outside Chicago, decent careers, and enough money to live comfortably. From the outside, we looked like one of those couples who had figured things out. Inside the house, though, something had been changing. Emily had become distant. Not suddenly. That would have been easier to notice. It happened slowly, the way a crack spreads across glass. She stopped asking about my day. She kept her phone face down. She started taking calls in the garden. When I asked who it was, she always had an answer ready. Work. Sarah. My sister. There was always an explanation. And I wanted to believe every one of them. Then there was intimacy. For nearly a year, Emily had one excuse after another. She was tired. She had a headache. Work was stressful. She wasn't feeling well. I tried not to pressure her. I told myself marriage had phases. Love wasn't supposed to feel like our honeymoon forever. But something didn't add up. She had no energy for me, yet she had started going to the gym every evening. She bought new clothes. She changed her hair. She wore perfume to places she once visited in sweatpants. The strange part was that she seemed happier. Just not when she was with me. I finally asked her one Friday night. We were eating dinner at the kitchen table, and she had barely looked up from her phone. Are you happy with me? She froze for half a second. Then she smiled. Of course. Why would you ask that? I should have trusted my instincts. Instead, I apologized. That was the pattern in our marriage. Something would feel wrong, I would ask, she would dismiss it, and somehow I would end up feeling guilty for questioning her. A week later, I got sick. Nothing serious at first. A burning sensation, fatigue, then a fever. I assumed it was a urinary infection and went to an urgent care clinic. The doctor examined me, asked a few questions, and ordered tests. 3 days later, his office called. They wanted me to come back immediately. I knew something was wrong when Dr. Harris didn't sit behind his desk. He stood beside it with a folder in his hands. Daniel, I need to ask you something personal. My stomach tightened. Okay. Have you had any sexual partners besides your wife? No. His expression changed. That was the moment I stopped breathing. The doctor explained that one of my tests had come back positive for an infection that is commonly transmitted through sexual contact. He spoke calmly, but I barely heard him. I kept thinking there had to be a mistake. I asked him to repeat the test. He said they already had. Then I said the only thing that mattered. My wife and I haven't been intimate in almost a year. Dr. Harris stared at me. I watched the realization cross his face. Then he quietly asked, has your wife been tested recently? I remembered something Emily had said 2 months earlier. She had casually mentioned a women's health appointment. At the time, I hadn't thought anything about it. Now every little detail came rushing back. The late nights. The new clothes. The phone. The excuses. I left the clinic in silence. For 20 minutes, I sat in my truck without starting the engine. I didn't call Emily. I didn't confront her. I didn't scream. I went home and watched. That night, Emily came in after 9. She claimed she'd been working late. I noticed her hair was still perfectly styled. She kissed my cheek. Long day. I asked. The worst. I smiled. Get some rest. For the first time in months, I didn't feel hurt. I felt clear. The next morning, I called a lawyer. His name was Michael Reed, and a friend had recommended him years earlier. I told him everything, including the medical diagnosis. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he said, "Don't confront her yet." That was exactly what I needed to hear. Over the next week, I started documenting everything. I didn't search her phone. I didn't follow her. I let professionals handle that. I simply began protecting myself. Then Dr. Harris called again. Emily had come in for testing. She had asked him not to contact me. That was when he said something that changed everything. "Daniel," he told me, "your wife gave us a name." I gripped the phone. A name for what? Her most recent sexual partner. The name he gave me was Ryan. My business partner. And suddenly, I understood why both of them had been acting so strangely. What I didn't understand yet was that their affair wasn't just about my marriage. It was about my money. And they had already been making plans without me. Ryan had been my business partner for 11 years. We owned a small construction supply company together. I handled contracts, finances, and most of the clients. Ryan managed operations and deliveries. I trusted him with half my business and, worse, with access to my home. He'd sat at my dinner table. He'd been at our anniversary parties. My wife had called him family. Now I knew better. Michael, my lawyer, told me to stay calm and change nothing. So I did. I went to work. I shook Ryan's hand. I asked him about his weekend. Every time he lied to my face, I felt less anger and more certainty. The private investigator Michael recommended uncovered the rest. Emily and Ryan had been seeing each other for 9 months. They met at hotels, rented apartments under false names, and had even taken a weekend trip using a company card Ryan had access to. That last detail changed everything. Ryan wasn't just sleeping with my wife. He was stealing from me. The investigator found records of expenses hidden under supplier meetings and travel costs. Small amounts at first. Then larger ones. Enough that Michael immediately told me to involve a forensic accountant. While the investigation continued, I started quietly preparing my exit. I changed passwords. I documented company accounts. I removed Ryan's access to major financial systems without giving him a reason. I checked every contract we had signed together. Then I found something he had clearly forgotten. Our partnership agreement contained a fraud and misconduct clause. If one partner used company funds for personal purposes or committed financial fraud, the other had the right to force an immediate buyout based on the company's independently determined value. Ryan had apparently been so confident in his little plan that he never thought I would read the agreement. Emily was even more confident. One evening, I came home and found her sitting on the couch. "You're working late again," she said. I almost laughed. "Yeah. Business has been complicated." She looked at me for a moment. "Maybe you're working too hard." The hypocrisy was unbelievable. But I just nodded. 3 days later, everything happened at once. First, Michael filed for divorce. Emily was served at home. Second, Ryan received a formal notice from our attorney. The evidence of the fraudulent expenses was attached. His access to company accounts was suspended immediately. Third, the forensic accountant delivered a complete report. Ryan had taken more money than I expected. Enough to destroy his financial future. That afternoon, Ryan stormed into my office. He threw the documents onto my desk. "What the hell is this?" I leaned back. "Consequences." His face went pale. "You've been watching me." "No," I said. I finally started paying attention. He tried to explain the expenses. Client meetings. Business trips. Mistakes. I said nothing until he ran out of excuses. Then I placed one photograph on the desk. It showed him and Emily entering a hotel. Ryan stared at it. I watched his entire face collapse. "Daniel. Don't." He looked toward the door. "I love her." That actually made me laugh. "Then you can support her." His expression changed. That's when I knew Emily had never told him everything. I explained that she had filed no divorce request. I had filed first. The house was protected by legal agreements. Her personal spending depended heavily on my income. And Ryan's share of the company was about to disappear under the fraud clause. He looked terrified. Not because he had lost me. Because he had finally realized what his affair was going to cost. Emily called me 23 times that night. I didn't answer. Then Dr. Harris called. He had one final piece of information. The medical tests had confirmed that Emily had been infected before she came home to me. Her records showed she had known about the condition weeks earlier and continued hiding it. That became important. Very important. My lawyer added the medical documentation to our case. Emily's lawyer initially tried to negotiate aggressively. Then they saw the evidence. The affair. The financial fraud. The hidden medical diagnosis. The expenses. The investigators' records. Everything. Suddenly, their confidence disappeared. Ryan tried to sell his house to raise money. He couldn't afford the settlement. Emily moved in with her sister. The company removed Ryan completely. And the affair that had started in secret collapsed under the weight of the truth. Months later, I saw Emily outside a coffee shop. She looked tired. Older. For a moment, she just stood there. Then she walked toward me. "I'm sorry," she said. I believed she was. Not sorry for cheating. Sorry for losing. She asked if I hated her. I thought about everything. The lies. The doctor. Ryan. The money. Then I said, "No. I just don't trust you." She started crying. I felt nothing. That's when I realized revenge isn't always destroying someone. Sometimes it's stepping aside and letting their own choices destroy everything they thought they could take from you. The truthful doctor didn't ruin my marriage. Emily and Ryan did that themselves. He simply gave me the truth. And once I had it, I made sure neither of them could hide behind another lie again. They wanted my wife, my money, and my future. In the end, they got each other. And they were left with nothing.